right, well, welcome back to the MSM Leaders Podcast. For those tuning in, whether you can see us or just hear us, we're happy to be back with another episode in our Why series. Obviously, this won't be the only episodes we do, but my heart is to create a resource, obviously, for leaders that they can use, and understanding the why behind what we do and why we do all these events. I mean, I think, Josh, I looked one time and I was like, okay, the network puts on like 22-ish events a year, and I think the youth department runs like 16 to 18 of them. You know,
That's
just like
amazing.
We just do a lot of events, and so I'm like, but why do we do all these things? Why do we participate in this stuff? You know, what does it look like? And so I think this is going to be a good bank of episodes to talk about that. But today, I'm here with friend and youth pastor Josh Barnhart. So, hi, Josh.
Hello.
How you doing, Doc?
I'm good. It's good to be here.
Good. He, at time of recording, just rolled off the highway. So he's like, well, here I am,
I'm
just
here.
ready to rock. So what we're going to talk about today is, first of all, Josh, we get to know you, which is exciting. You and I have been friends for a long time, and so I'm pumped to just even hear your story again from the outside perspective, because I found myself just forgetting. I'm like, this guy has like been around the block. Like, this dude has been doing ministry in the state for a while and really doing youth ministry in the state for a long time. Yeah. And so, like, remembering all the stops on your journey, I'm excited for people to acquaint themselves with you. Yeah. And then from there, we're going to talk winter retreats.
Awesome.
And as an event, winter retreats are more like regionally designed, and they're kind of different because there's something that we both host and don't host. You know, like, it's not necessarily something I have to run for my job. And so, but it is something that you and others have gotten the privilege to run. And so we'll talk through that. But first, let's get to know you, Josh. Yeah. So in whatever words you want to use, tell me your story, Doug.
Yeah. So I've grown up in Montana, born, raised, lived in Montana, love Montana.
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
No.
Yeah, just
Montana.
I feel, me too.
I'm
with
Montana born
with you,
and have no desire to go anywhere else, unless God says that.
I mean, yeah, sure.
So,
the classic obedience.
Classic obedience. But I grew up in a small town in Harlowton.
Love it.
So that's where I was spent most of my life. I grew up there, graduated from there, football, the whole 9 yards. Then I went to Master's Commission.
Yeah.
So
there hasn't been one
there
of those.
hasn't been one of those for a while. So with at least 10 years. So there you go.
The Master's Commission was kind of meant to be like a church-run, hands-on discipleship type energy.
Everything's from that. It's kind of shifted to more school of ministry. Type thing to actually get a college degree.
Sure.
So that's kind of where those have shifted. So I did 2 years of that, and then I started in 2011 in the spring. Yeah, spring of 2011, right? And that's where I started into ministry as an intern in Helena at Neighborhood Assembly, which is now called Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where I started. I started with one of my youth pastors, Andrew Christofferson, who is now one of our missionaries in Montana.
Yes. Yeah, there's some,
So that's where I started. I interned with him it was just going to be a year.
Sure.
And then they liked me around the church. I did good. So they brought me back on for another year. I'm like, perfect. Things are thriving.
Love it.
So I started my second year, and then right toward the end of my second year, Andrew ended up leaving and going to the missions field. So they handed me the youth group and said, here you go.
Yeah, good luck. Your first time without training wheels, dog.
First time without training wheels. So a lot of on-the-job training.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
So I must have started in Baker right around the same time you started in Helena.
Pretty close.
Like 2013-ish?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Because it was funny because Pastor Rod and Baker actually asked me if I wanted to come out, and I was like, nah, that's a long ways away.
That's so funny.
So,
well, I'm glad you didn't, to be honest.
Exactly.
You know, like, don't take that the wrong way, but I'm like, man, it was nice.
It was great for you.
Yeah. So you're in Helena. Cool.
I'm in Helena. So then I got married. I met my wife in Master's Commission.
Nice.
Go back a little bit. And that's where me and my wife, Elisa, met, dated, and then got married in 2014.
Sure.
February 2014. Still in Helena. Spent some time there even after we were married. And then we moved because we felt God was calling us just to take a season of rest.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Which was hard for me.
It's hard to be like, here's my trajectory. I'm in ministry. I want to do this. And then like, what if I stepped back? That's hard. That's a tough move.
So ended up moving to Bozeman.
Okay.
We moved to Bozeman without having a place to live.
Sure. I mean, if anybody's curious what to do in this housing market, I'd say go for it.
Go for it. We got to Three Forks and got a phone call with a place to live. So like it was
blessing of the Lord.
It was a step of faith. But we spent about a year and a half or something like that there. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But built great relationships.
You were serving in the church, but you were like what, working for like an asphalt company or something?
Insulation.
That's
I did.
What it was.
I worked for I tried to deliver bread for a bakery.
Okay.
But I hated being up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, that
one sucked.
That's no fun.
So
I like staying up till 2 a.m. But
I can handle that. But getting up at 2 was not fun. So I worked for Verizon for a while.
Sure.
Hated that.
Sure.
Straight, just hated it.
Yeah.
And then worked for a guy in the church doing insulation.
Sure.
And all this time I was also learning to just serve with other people, not being in the lead.
Yeah.
Which was good, but I met one of my best friends, David Alexif.
David Alexif, my predecessor.
Served with him in kids ministry, fell in love with kids ministry.
Yeah, because I should mention, I say youth pastor, but like you are dual role and you do a lot with both and have really jumped into both sides of Next Gen ministry multiple times. Yeah.
So I did that, and then part of the story of us in Bozeman, we ended up having a miscarriage.
Oh, dang.
And so that was hard for myself and for my wife. And then we ended up moving to Miles City.
Yeah, Eastern
Montana.
Literally Cowtown, USA, though. I mean, like it is like the quintessential like cattle baron capital of the world. Okay, like it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and so spent time in Miles City. Got to learn part of Eastern Montana.
Yeah, it's an interesting place. I love it still.
It was.
But we got to hang out more. That was fun. Obviously did some winter retreat stuff, which again we'll talk about. But Yeah.
So spent some time there, and the goal there was to help kind of pioneer and start a youth ministry.
Yeah.
Because they had nothing at the church, and so we were able to help launch that a little bit. I helped oversee some of the kids' stuff. All at the same time, I worked at Pine Hills, which is the juvenile correctional facility.
What a party. Gosh.
And the things that I saw and the fights that I had, I got to be in and got paid for were great.
Yeah. That's such a statement.
It was fun. I got paid to fight.
I've always enjoyed like what I call like the second hat of Next Gen pastors, because obviously a lot of small town people identify with like, well, I'm bivocational. It's like, well, what do you do? Because like one of my favorite examples, and he still goes to Helena, is Travis Kirchhofer. Or I never get his last name right.
Yeah.
But when he was in Glasgow as the youth pastor, he was also in school to become like an undertaker, like run a mortuary and like prep bodies after they died. And I was like, what a combo of skills,
That's trippy. Don't make him.
But for you did what I would call youth ministry and youth ministry. You know what I'm saying? Like
the laying on
like
of hands.
The both sides of that coin. But in Miles City for a while, and then obviously I think if I remember right, you were there for maybe a year-ish or
year and a
something
half.
like that.
We had Benton was born there. So
your son Benton. He's 7 now.
7 in second grade.
Yeah.
So then after Miles City, like we said, we've kind of been all over the state. I've hit every corner of the state. And then we moved back to Harlowton.
Yeah.
And that was partially to help do ministry there. I wasn't going to necessarily be the youth pastor. It ended up working out that way.
Sure.
I was just going to help the current person who was doing it and just kind of help give some direction. But it was to be just around some family, because my parents still live there, and be a part of the church and just kind of see what God does. And so we ended up moving there and ended up doing youth ministry there for a few years. Then COVID hit.
Yeah, 2020.
So
busts everything wide open. Jeez.
So my wife got laid off. Stuff at the church kind of slowed way down just with closures, all that stuff. I ended up taking over a job as a 911 dispatcher in Harlow.
Yes. Gosh,
and a detention officer.
Yes.
And there were some other things that, without going into a lot of detail, some hurt and different things I was dealing with. But I was kind of at a point where it's like, man, I don't know if I'm going to do ministry anymore.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
and that's a hard place to be.
place.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Without going into a lot of detail, I'd love to talk with people about it if they have questions. But end up getting a call in 2021, April of 2021, from Greg Ledgerwood.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't talked to him in 6 or 7 years.
Right. Youth pastor served alongside of us, became a lead pastor
Ennis.
So.
And so he's like, hey, are you interested in coming to Ennis? Nice. I'm like, I didn't even know where Ennis was.
Yeah.
So
I still vaguely don't, like, I've driven there multiple times, and I'm like, it's somewhere around Bozeman, but not in the same area. It's like off the interstates. I can't remember.
So I was like, well, sure, not really. Yeah. Let's kind of play this out. And so long story short, we ended up moving to Ennis in 2021. Yeah. August 15th of 2021 is when we moved. So we just finished 4 years there, hitting stride.
And still going.
And still going.
For the record, that's your current position.
Current position. I love Ennis.
Nice.
Have a daughter.
Yeah, Monroe. She's a Spitfire.
She straight up. She's a Spitfire.
I'm so excited for you guys for the next, 15 years.
15 years. She's the one that controls everything. But so love Ennis, doing kids. I do youth, and then I lead our kids program on Wednesdays during the school year. Sure. And then on a few other associate things and kind of everything else. So that's a little bit of my a long story.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at 2000. Again, I didn't realize how much our journeys really did mirror each other, but 2010, 11, I stepped into internship. You step into master's commission, and then obviously for the last almost 15 years, we've been doing something.
I started
some capacity,
master's in fall of 2009. Is when I started.
Okay, So you were 2011 was when you stepped into.
Yeah, I stepped into Helena.
You really had quite the journey.
Yeah.
So that's super fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for giving us a glimpse. And again, part of this podcast is just being able to see faces, to learn voices, to recognize stories, and the cool thing is when we bring people on the podcast, myself included, this is for connection. Josh is the guy you could call. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're like, yo, Joe, you got Josh's number. He loves to talk ministry and life, and obviously has had some fun chapters of your story, some tough chapters of your story, and man, what a breadth of experience. But to the topic at hand, we're going to talk winter retreats. Okay.
Awesome.
And winter retreats, just to give people a basic, as if to presume that everyone understands those two words. They are retreats that happen in the general wintertime in Montana. They're always a tricky event because it can snow from September to April or May in Montana. So winter actually gives you 8 months to really figure out when you want to have that. But the winter retreat is really a regional event. It's really not a statewide thing. We have camps and youth convention that's statewide, but winter retreats are often smaller. They can range anywhere from 30 to 50 kids to 100 to 150, maybe 200, maybe 250. But again, really a smaller event, and they're run not by the DYD. They're run by youth pastors, youth leaders, and others who are kind of saying, hey, we will host the event. In some ways, the network like partners, but again, there's a lot of freedom there to say, hey, what do we want to look like? Who's coming? Where are we hosting this stuff? But let's just start with a jog down memory lane. Again, you have been in the state. You grew up in one of these youth groups, been going. I grew up in a Billings youth group, and we've been around these for a long time or running for a long time. And so what are some of your memories of winter retreats?
One of my first memories as a student.
Okay.
So this goes back a ways. Was a snow blast is what it used to be called.
Yeah, good old snow blast. And if it didn't snow, we'd call it a grass blast. Which has other connotations. I'm I don't know if we use that name a lot anymore.
Not anymore.
But we're moving on. So anyway, snow blast.
So we actually went to, it was a sectional one, but we actually went to the Copper King in Butte.
Ooh, Butte, Montana, which is where we do our Ministries Connection conference now. And great hotel.
Great hotel.
Definitely back in the day.
It was sketch.
It was a little sketch.
It was sketch.
It got renovated since then.
So one of the speakers from, if I can remember right, it was Tim Bach was a speaker that year. But to kind of give you the date of when it was, I should have looked up when it was.
Sure.
But at that winter retreat, we watched as a whole group Napoleon Dynamite because it just came out.
Just because it just, yes. So we're talking like 2006, 2007, something like that.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
That's crazy.
So
you got to introduce Napoleon Dynamite.
Like we watched it on a big screen with
so
everybody.
funny.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So, but that's one of the earliest memories of
Sure.
me as a student.
Yeah.
And then there's some other ones recently, and then I've kind of been in different venues for winter retreats.
Yeah.
I'm in churches, hotels,
campgrounds.
I've seen them all. I've been on worship teams at winter retreats, so I've kind of had a rundown of all sorts of different ones.
Yeah, I'd say one of my favorite memories. Ironically, you mentioned that. So we for a number of years, actually, one of my favorite winter retreats was the one we did in Miles City, and I think. Was it before you became the youth pastor there? Oh man, I missed. But we were knocker balls had just gotten popular, and we were in the basement of this church. And you have to understand, no disrespect to the Miles City Church facility, but it's got like cracked concrete in the basement. It's got a bunch of like poles. Like it's very like industrial utilitarian down there.
Yeah, it is.
And we were trying to make like a knocker ball arena, and I mean we're like shoving kids into poles.
That's
we're
amazing.
like it was like. Aggressive, and so, but we were really trying to like find a cheap alternative. We had just been at a campground that was way too expensive, and so, but we ended up landing the event in Sydney. They have a great venue, and so we've done winter retreat in Sydney on the east side for a while. And as someone running it, kind of that youth rep taking point on it, one of my favorite memories was we actually rented out the entire Sydney movie theater, and it's a small town, so it has kind of the, like instead of having, like 15 theaters or whatever, it's got one, and it's just a big long room, and a lot of small towns have that, where it's an old style, like one long space. And we watched Napoleon Dynamite in like 2022. You know what I'm saying? Like years later. Now I will say there were parts of that movie that I'm like, oh, that didn't really age well. But there were plenty of parts that were still funny and quotable. But we really enjoyed that. We rented out. They like opened it up and let us buy snacks. But obviously there's like spiritual impact side of things. Yeah. I would say like one of the coolest things about winter retreat, I would say, and obviously we'll dive into even your experience now leading it, kind of this season. But like one of my favorite memories about these is maybe just, for lack of a better term, like an intimate setting. Like these are people Mm-hmm. Like camp is nice because Montana's still a small state in every way except geographically. Okay. But like we're making memories with people. But again, the odds of me hanging out on the regular with people from Libby, Montana, when I live in Baker, is just really low. Even me hanging out with Billings people regularly or whatever. But when it was like, man, the 3 or 4 towns that were immediately around me jumping in for a winter retreat, these are people that in some senses, myself or my students are doing life with.
Right.
And so not only are you saying, let's have all the things we love about camps and retreats, opening our hearts at the altars, working through tough stuff, getting to hear God speak, but you're doing it with people who can kind of directly spur you on and hold you accountable to that, know? And even to this day, like, I have had people say, oh man, I really loved how this leader from this town and this student from that town, and like we ended up doing an all-nighter, and these kids remember each other and they form friendships that go beyond that. And so like it's a really fun way to do ministry there. But on the spiritual side, are there any moments that stand out from you? Like just whether, again, as a student or even as you've led students that you really enjoyed from your own experience. And obviously we'll get to more celebration of wins and stuff like that later. But
I think one of the big ones that really... I don't know. There's so many, but throughout the years of winter retreat, just in my youth group and different, whether I've been a leader or an intern or just kind of in the background of it, is any win to me is watching how students respond to God's presence.
Yeah.
In the altar, and that's the one thing that's awesome that I like with winter retreats is we have that ability to kind of do that because it's very much relaxed, whether it's in a church or a hotel.
Yeah. It tends to be a more laid back event.
It is. Yeah. It's not.
Plus, I think it just helps not having 500, 600, 700 people at some place. You can just treat it differently.
Yeah. You actually get a chance to connect with students, and there's room to spread out and do more one-on-one with students, whether they're my students from my youth group or from another youth group. Like, I'm able to speak into other people's lives as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was speaking at the winter retreat in Great Falls a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And like Havre was there and Great Falls Church and a couple others. And we just had like, I don't know, at one point somebody suggested this whole Christians versus communists game that I think people have played in youth groups where there's like people in the dark and whatever, which again is usually is a 50-50 on whether that should or shouldn't work in youth ministry. I'm like, well,
depends on the group.
Things have happened, but it's fine. But the point is like it was a good crew, and so like we just had the run of this huge church and like making memories, and doing so in a setting where like if we're at a camp saying, hey, let's just send 600 people out into the dark, like it just doesn't, you don't get to play that card. Like you just don't get to play that card because there's such a relational closeness to this one, more laid back, more chance to just really have these fun moments. And so before we dive into kind of how you've enjoyed it as a youth pastor, because again, we're talking to other leaders, we're saying, why should you, we might be talking to youth pastors saying, why should you come to these? We're talking to youth pastors saying, why should you go serve with them? We're talking to different events like that. And so, but before we get to that, I just want to set the scene of what it looks like right now. So currently, technically in the past, there was always this kind of strong encouragement to have almost geographically represented winter retreats, right? Yes. And there used to be maybe like 8, we would say, and they correspond with kind of the 8 sections that the Assemblies of God divides Montana into. Each of those sections theoretically has a youth rep and a presbyter and all those things. And so you could kind of say, okay, if it's in the section with Billings, you're going to be looking at the 5 or 6 communities around Billings. Correct. If you go over to the Bozeman-Helena area, you've got Bozeman and Helena and the surrounding communities, et cetera, et cetera. But recently, and I think just from, the ups and downs of attendance or just the whole more is merrier type concept, I think we're currently running about 6 in the state at the time of recording. We've got 2 that are kind of just due to the size of these churches, I'm going to mention, like kind of running their own winter retreat, which is super fun. So the Canvas group of churches, which Canvas has planted churches in, Billings and Missoula and Columbia Falls and all these places. They run like a winter retreat for their group. Yes. Helena runs a winter retreat for their group. And then we have one that's been super fun that Kayla Miller has been pivotal in building up the last several years in Libby, so all the way in that corner, and that attracts people from Missoula and Whitefish and Kalispell area and all the way down that kind of third corridor there. Okay. We've got one that's been in Great Falls that Havre's jumped in on at times, or for sure Great Falls has been pivotal in kind of setting up for all the random small towns. There's so many communities around Great Falls.
Yes.
I was just surprised. I was like, whoa, there's like a lot of them up there. But we've got something like that going. Obviously, the one that you have been running or helping run or co-running, whatever it is, has been kind of actually, it started with just like hey, we're doing a Bozeman-ish area vibe, and then like Billings jumped on. So now you've kind of got this whole kind of, I would call it the interstate corridor where it's like, man, you're really getting 6 or 8 towns kind of involved in what's going on. And that's been really fun to watch that one grow. That one's probably, what was your last year attendance?
Oh, 130.
Yeah, 130. Like, that's not bad.
No.
So we've got this, let's see, that's the 2 churches, and then we had Libby and this one, and then the other one is the East Side. And that's the one that I got to run for the last
all of East Side
however many years. Yeah. It's basically, if you're east of Billings, like
you go there.
That's your move.
That's
you know what I'm
that's
saying?
where you're going.
So, and all right, and we're back.
And we're back.
I don't know if you guys know about technical difficulties out there, but anyone at church ever had technical difficulties? Show of hands. Okay, cool. We are still just on this journey of video podcasting and just working with equipment. So our last conversation cut off a little bit, Josh. And so what we've been talking about is just what winter retreats mean for developing leaders, developing students. And again, I think you and I, just to wrap up this part of the conversation, is like we were just in the middle of a conversation about how a winter retreat's great because it's a bunch of leaders working together, and it's leaders who don't always get opportunities other places, or maybe even leaders who are more fresh to the game who are saying, hey, before we turn you loose on running games at camp, or even before we give you like a bigger role in our local church, like here's a safe place where there's other leaders around to kind of practice those skills. You might have someone who is very passionate about small groups or running games or worship or very administrative, who can like kind of discover their gifts of God at a winter retreat. In addition to that, a thing I don't think we touched on either is like, one of the things we talk a lot about in ministry is the idea of running mates, where it's like I want friends who do what I do and who are around the same world that I'm in. And a winter retreat is a great chance because, again, at camp, I think you, me, basically every youth pastor who's a friend of ours has kind of lamented the fact that you get to camp and you're like, oh, family reunion, I love all these people, but like we have to like watch our students and it's a big place and there's hundreds and hundreds of people.
And there's bears.
Whereas at a winter, well, yeah, there's bears, but at a winter retreat, it's not that you don't have to do our job. To be clear, we have to supervise children, but there's less of them typically. And so we get a chance to maybe kind of connect on a more relational level with our leaders. We can afford to sit for 30 minutes and talk and shoot the breeze and get to know one another better. And that can lead to just kind of an even bigger relational level. And then 6 months down the road when you're struggling, having a hard time, you have someone you can call. Yeah. You know, but let's talk about what these events really mean for students generally. Like I know that you've talked to me before about this idea of like a circle or a rhythm of the year, and so talk about like what this event means for students in your ministry. Yeah,
so for us, it works great as a circle of life.
Sure.
And I learned that
circle.
There it is. I like it. But I got that from Pastor Greg.
Sure.
It's kind of just in a conversation with him, and the reason why strategically, even before I became a youth pastor, why events are set where they are is like we start with camp as that starting point of the year.
Yeah.
In youth ministry, our calendar year starts August, September.
We hit camp and then we roll right into the start of school.
Exactly.
And like there's no better ramp than that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so so if you're in the first 6-7 weeks of school, then we hit youth conference. And then you're into the holidays and kind of students in and out of ministry. But then you get into January.
Yeah.
January to camp is a long time.
It's a long time. And it's not even just January to camp. It's like
winter
in
5
Montana. Months. Yeah, like winter in Montana is a tough time. Like a lot of darkness turns out. It's a northern state, lots of snow, lots of loneliness, honestly, lots of seasonal affective disorder. I've always thought it was mean of them to make seasonal affective disorders spell out sad. You know, I'm just like, you just don't have to like drive it home so hard. But it's 5 more months of the school year. You know, you come back from Christmas, all the lights are gone, and you're like, okay, I guess from January to May, all these kids have to go to school and like kind of overcome the natural doldrums and still stay strong in their faith. And winter retreat pops in February, March.
Yeah, each one is kind of different depending on where they're at in the state, but they all fall in that February, March, and kind of help give that jolt of energy that students need to push through the rest of the year. Even for me as a youth pastor, it gives me that jolt of like, okay, I can handle the middle schoolers. My middle schoolers for the rest of May.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about events as kind of these both, they cement what's already been happening in our youth group, and then they start the new thing that's happening. And so we've experienced this before, but so many youth pastors would say like, man, I preached for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks on prayer, and then we went to one event, and one speaker who wasn't me said the word prayer, and then someone suddenly understood prayer. And you're like, as much as we joke about that or get frustrated by it, that's why events matter, is because like it's not that the 8-week series we did on prayer didn't matter. It's that every suddenly moment, every light bulb moment in a student's life, every event that allows them the clarity to put all those pieces together is usually preceded by a caring youth pastor and a caring youth ministry. And so like for us to be able to say, hey, we're going to do an event at this time to both cement maybe what's been happening, but also to galvanize, to encourage, to say, hey, let me challenge you to keep living for Jesus through the rest of the school year, I think is hugely beneficial.
Yeah, it's hard to, I guess, put it into words what winter retreat does in that dark season of Montana.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And also I think we underestimate, but like at winter retreats, you're getting to know students who often live in your town or even in your vicinity, in your driving distance.
Yes.
Which is of course a loose term in Montana. I mean, what is driving distance? But these people are often, so like, and I know it might not be true everywhere, but for the east side, I know for a fact that like those 15 small communities, they would see each other at track meets and at sporting events and in their football schedule and in their orchestra festivals and in their band festival. Like, these are the people they're going to see all year. And for them to then be able to do that, to be able to kind of connect with people and say, man, there are people in other towns that I know that have been through these same experiences. And I think that there's real friendships that inspire people to love Jesus more.
Yeah, it helps being able to add that into your life, going, oh, there's people who follow Jesus. I'm not on this island by myself.
Yeah.
And same as for youth pastors, being able to connect with other youth pastors, because we need to connect with each other.
Yeah.
And winter retreat is, like you'd said earlier, is a whole lot easier to connect at.
Yeah.
Than we can connect at camp a little bit and youth conference kind of.
Yeah.
But winter retreat is that time to where we can sit around the table, play some cards, or drink some coffee, and just be able to connect that way. It's a lot easier to do. So
let's do this. Let's finish up by just sharing a couple stories, a couple wins.
For sure.
You know, so for me, 2 wins. One of them was there was actually a Trinity student who was serving at one of our events. And they came up to me and said, hey, that winter retreat was like the first time that it was another step in their call of God into ministry. But they also like distinctly felt this kind of call to Montana, this tug. They ended up moving here, ministering for a while. And like, it's really cool just to say, hey, we gave an opportunity at a time of year. And it wasn't, like they're not necessarily the same as the summer team that comes through. It's like, man, here's another moment for a student to latch onto what God was doing. Another thing, I had this one family in Baker all those years who never once came to summer camp. And it was so interesting because you look at like the time of year, and for us, still it feels like in Montana, camp is king. It's like the biggest event of our year. We love it.
Right.
But some kids in your youth ministry are just never going to come to camp, whether some of them have family situations where it's like, actually in the summer I go and live with my other parent who doesn't live here, or man, I'm in sports or trying to do a job, or like doing certain things that just always take up that time. And a winter retreat, shorter event, kind of a weekend, like it can become for some of your students the only chance they will have. And I think sometimes we go, but for winter retreat, I don't get any of the kids or I don't get near as many of the kids that are coming to summer camp. And I'm like, but what kids are you getting?
Right.
And I remember them literally sharing stories with me of like, man, Joe, that winter retreat, every year I looked forward to it because it changed my life, because they didn't have anything else, in terms of those high points to look at for life change. And so give us a story or two,
Yeah. So I have 2 of them that I can think of. Is one was from this year or last year, I guess. Sure. Was one of my girls. We would rent out Jump Time.
Yeah. So, classic midnight jump time.
Absolutely.
It's peak youth ministry. Like, why don't I want to jump on a trampoline at midnight?
Exactly. Why not? So Jump Time in Bozeman, but they have this giant air pillow and a platform, and she crawled all the way up on top and was gonna jump, but froze.
Like, you're talking like a spontaneous fear of heights type thing?
Yeah, like
just
froze,
brutal.
Couldn't do it. I was like, awesome.
Cheers to you. Like, what a bummer.
So you end up seeing eventually all of these students start gathering, and I'm down talking because I couldn't really jump at the time. I was dealing with injury. So I was like, oh, and I look up, it's one of my students. I'm like, okay, well, time to go up there and see what's going on. And there were kids encouraging and they weren't, nobody was negative. Everyone was giving her space.
But it was probably pretty overwhelming.
Oh, she was very, very overwhelmed. You could see it. And I eventually looked at the kids that were really obnoxious who were by next to me. I just told them to shut up.
Sure.
I'm like, hey, I need a moment, and tried to get everybody as quiet as possible, and was able to
just so you could walk this girl through it,
exactly, and talk with her and be able to go, hey, it's okay that you're not gonna jump, because I'm like, at this point, if you jump, she's so tense. I'm like, you're gonna hurt yourself, you're gonna break something, like
you're gonna miss somehow, like the worst. It's just gonna be the worst thing.
And this is the first trip she's ever gone on with us. I'm like, perfect. So I was able to coach her and walk with her and pastor her, like, hey, it's okay to go backwards.
Yeah.
And not fall into the peer pressure, and be able to help take her. And so she ended up walking backwards down the ladder, and people were excited that she got down and didn't freeze in that moment. Like, she was able to take a step back. And sometimes we need to do those moments. It's like, and not fall to the peer pressure. We need to take a step backwards. That, like,
winter retreat gave you the opportunity to pastor a kid through their life, not just through their faith, but through their life. And like, that is the secret ingredient of like what youth ministry is, living life with students. And not just in the moments that are directly spiritual, kind of helping them walk forward, you know. And so, what else you got?
And then
what was your other thought?
I think my other one was when I was in Helena as a leader. We had the campground that I was at. If you would go to camp that way, it was just past the Big Brown Cow,
okay.
by Sealy Swan area is where the campground was at. So, is where the camp was. But I snuck back around from how we had everything set up, and you can kind of get up on top, and be able to look down one of the altar times that we had, and was able to just see kids sitting in God's presence.
Yeah.
The worship band was playing, and the team that we had was very sensitive to God's Spirit, and so they helped pastor that moment from the instruments, but just allowing students to enter into God's presence, and there was no rush. There was nothing else that we had to do that night. There was no game. There was nothing other than we wanted to create the atmosphere in the moment for students to encounter and experience God. And I love that about Winter Retreat, is because that's where students are going to have their lives changed. Like, we can have the best worship, the best speaker, the best games, the best snow, the best whatever.
Yeah.
But if they don't encounter God's presence, students' lives are never going to be changed. Yeah. It's just, here I went to an activity.
Well, and that's why, like, the Bible's filled with both, right? Like, just as a final note of this, like, the Bible was full of so many years of mundane moments. You know, you think of like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we're like the patriarchs of our faith, and these guys who were part of God's plan. And like, they probably could count on one hand, like, the number of like mountaintop, powerful moments they had with the Lord. But they lived years and years and years of just kind of these valley moments. But for us, we try and work that into an annual rhythm in Montana, where it's we're going to have these valley moments where you're just showing up to youth group every week or every third week, you know, depending on what student you got.
Right.
But it's like, we're going to do all that stuff, and then we're going to create mountaintops because we believe in both, and we believe in the power of what that is. And so, I mean, I think top to bottom, we got her whipped, you know, we got it figured out. And so, Josh, thanks for jumping on, chatting with us. Again, these happen in our state every year, kind of February, March. And we encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, how do I become a part of that? Or man, I never knew, or I want to be more a part of that, or I want to help plan that, reach out to me, figure it out. Let's talk, you know. So otherwise,
Cool.
Yeah.
There we go.